To do that, first thing that I'm going to need is a kick drum. So let's make a kick drum. My understanding from experience from a lot of different methods with kick drums is that unless you know confidently what you're doing, don't try to synthesize your own kick. If you do know confidently what you're doing, then by all means do whatever you want. But if you're more or less a beginner and you just want a big kick, get a sample pack that has big kicks in it and use one of those. Kicks are deceptively simple. You think that they're just like bang, 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 but actually they have low frequencies, they have mid frequencies, they have high frequencies. They all have phases, like they can be in phase or out of phase in terms of their transients. And you can have, it can be in balance, out of balance. It can be a lot of different things. Like there's a lot of dimensions to a kick that you may have under control and things that you may not have under control. And it can be very confusing. So what I recommend is literally just start with a kick sample that you like and work from there, okay? So recently I've been using a sample pack called Artist Kicks. I think it's by Audiotent. There's no affiliation with them, so I'm just sharing what has been working for me recently. They have a very nice palette of kicks that is arranged by artist name. So you can just find an artist close to the style that you want and then just literally go for it. They're also tuned, like as in the sense they have a label based on what pitch they're at. Don't always take that super strictly, like don't overthink that. First, let's look for a timbre. And so the timbre that I'm looking for is, I want something full-bodied, punchy, that has weight to it, but also that has transient to it. Sometimes in techno, you'll hear people with kicks that feel like they have a low-pass filter on them. And that is a beautiful kind of dark, warm style. But in this case, I want a kick that has frequencies all the way up to like, well, at least 1,000 hertz, maybe 2,000. I don't want it to be too clicky in the upper high end, but I definitely wanted to have a lot of mid body and not just sub, okay? So that's what I'm gonna be looking for. I kind of like this. It's kind of dry. Oops. Okay, we'll have to see. I'm gonna turn it up on my end a little bit. Yeah, I'm not against this. Let's see what we can build up around this. Remember, no kick is in itself that massive, right? What you have to do is you have to make sure that all the other elements in your track are at the right volume compared to your kick. Because no kick is big enough that it's still going to sound big if everything else is really loud. But so what you have to do is just keep in mind that if this kick is the loudest thing in your song, it's going to sound massive anyway. So anyway, let's make ourselves a loop. And I think what we're going to do today is probably going to work in something like, let's start with a 4-bar loop. Because I think that makes a lot of sense. Later on, we might extend it to be an 8-bar or a 16-bar loop, but right now let's go for a 4-bar loop. Let's make ourselves a MIDI clip, Control-Shift-M, right? We're gonna make our 16th note grid, but I don't want my 4-bar loop to be 4 bars. I just want it to be 1 bar, and I'm gonna play notes there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna make the notes relatively long. And then I'm also going to look on the sampler, going to set the release to nice and long so that we're hearing the sample as intended by the sample maker, not artificially shortened by the sample player. So. Yeah, I quite like that. It's got this kind of dustiness to it in the mids that I find quite attractive. So what we're going to do now, we're going to make a couple of secondary chains that follow on from it. So there is the rumble chain, the low rumble. The low rumble has a couple of key elements. So let's remind ourselves what they are. First of all, there's going to be in mono, and there's going to be a reverb. So the reverb represents the smear, and the smear is when you take a high fidelity element and you kind of smear it out in time. Now the smear is all fine and well, but I like often a combination of delay plus reverb, and the delay at 1/16th note, relatively high feedback, maybe 100% wet. Let's move these parameters around a little bit until I find something that gels well with the kick. Gotta take the audio from the kick, post effects, perfect. Not bad. You know that we're going to low pass this, right? So we're going to take an EQ8. Not bad. Not so bad. What does this need? Does it need an LFO tool? Maybe it needs an LFO tool. Okay, so at this point, one of the things that I'm thinking about is using something like an LFO tool to do some volume shaping. And what I like to do is I like to have this low end element sort of pump down so it gets quiet when the kick is supposed to play, and then come back up in a kind of a pumping motion. Now, usually, personally in my workflow, I would use an external plugin called LFO tool because it's just designed especially for that. But in this case, I want to stick as closely as possible that I can to Ableton's native effects. And so instead, I'm going to use this alternate workflow with the shaper. So I'm going to take this shaper right here, and I'm going to put a utility in front of it. And I'm going to map the gain. And as you can see, it's going to sort of going all over the place here, right? So what I want is I want to set the depth a lot less. I want to set the snap off, and I want to make a shape kind of like this. That's kind of what I want to do. And so I can set the offset down so that at its maximum, it's coming close to about 0, and then it's ducking down. And I can like reduce the depth so that it's not going quite as much. I don't want to make it to be so drastic. I just want it to go, I just want it to be perceptively a little bit quieter at that moment. So this is kind of like an LFO tool, right? So let's see what it sounds like in context. So can you hear, like if I turn it off, it doesn't pump as much with the kick. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So this really does kind of work as an alternative to the LFO tool. I hadn't actually tried it like this before, so I quite like it. One thing you want to avoid is putting this all the way to the side, because it creates this kind of click on the end. You hear that? When you ask a sound to go from maximum to minimum or from minimum to maximum in 0.0 milliseconds, sometimes it can cause it to click, to go from nothing to a certain setting, and we perceive that as a click. And so sometimes all you need to do is just give it a tiny little bit of time to go down naturally beforehand. That's really all it is. So cool, that might be our low rumble for this one done. Let's go for a mid rumble now. Something like this. Let's see what this gives. Cool, let's tweak some things. That's strange. That's unusual. Yeah, something like this more. Okay. Now let's saturate this a bit. Let's use pedal. Let's use pedal. Why not? Assertive. Not bad, not bad. At this point, I start to think that we need some saturation and limiting on the group. So let's have a quick look again at the diagram. Yeah, some saturation. And let's just use Ableton saturation and then look at the wave shaper. See what we can do with this. We're kind of destroying the transient with that, like with the punch if it goes away. Let's kind of cool. Let's go for the EQ8. Do a little cut in the low mids. Things tend to build up quite a lot in the low mids, and so sometimes cutting it a little bit can help. Not so bad, not so bad. Now let's put a limiter on there. And pump all this into the limiter ever so slightly. Cool. Awesome. Now I feel like there's one more percussive element in the mids sort of missing. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create myself an entirely new track, and I'm going to find something percussive to put on there, put a bunch of delay on it, and kind of treat it like a mid rumble, just to layer it in kind of quietly with the rest. So let's find a sound. Probably going to be something. Actually, you know what? Maybe let's take another kick. Yeah, let's take another kick, but play it up higher. Yeah, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. So let's have a look, and let's just play it up sort of a minor third from the root. Yeah, we stay regular. I'm not going to add in any polyrhythms or polymeters at this point. I'm not going to create something that's going to create too much contrast to this groove, because I want this groove to be the guiding groove of the entire track, if you know what I mean. So the rumble is going to be sort of the metronome that everything else will measure itself against. So if I want to have some space to do some unusual rhythms with the synthesizers and stuff, then I'm going to want my groove to be as straight as possible. I mean, as predictable as possible. So let's have a look. Yeah, cool. Now let's smear this out. Interesting. Yeah, not bad. Adding one element that's not really synchronized to the grid kind of adds some depth or some density to this rhythm, because otherwise everything can be a little bit too clean, you know? So let's try with this and then putting some crazy stuff on top of it, like maybe an amp. Let's try just some stuff. I like that quite a lot, but it's a bit too much for, like, I'm gonna need to remove some stuff, especially the lowest peak, because this is not supposed to actually sound like a kick, right? This is supposed to be mid-range texture. Not so bad, but maybe let's push it even further. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not against that. I'm not against that. Let's go really nuts with this. Yeah, I like this. Let's check it out. Yeah, I think it's gonna have to synchronize anyway. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe we can nudge it slightly offbeat. Yeah, not bad. Not bad, not bad. And I wanted to duck along with the rest as well, so I'm going to use this combo. I'm going to copy it over. I'm just going to need to offset it a bit. Okay, not bad. Not bad, not bad. You know what? Let's call this Rumble number 1. Let me audition quickly what these Atmos sound like with it. Let's turn all the Atmos down. Okay. 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 Let me turn down Atmo 1 and Atmo 3 a bit so that when I audition them, Yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay, so Rumble 1. I can't tell yet if it's good enough. To be honest, I think it lacks a little bit of aggression. So let's see what else we can cook up, right? So that was Rumble number 1. Let's do 2 other Rumbles. So we give ourselves 3 options again, and that way we can choose the one that feels right in the moment, okay? Often, like, the choice of kick that you use to get started determines very heavily where you end up with the entire process. So what I might do is I might duplicate the entire track, mute all the individual layers, just leave the kick. I'm messing with my controls here. Yeah, so you can just mute those, maybe take away the group processing for now, just start with a different kick. This way we don't have to regenerate all of these effects later, right? So let's find a nice tough kick. Yeah, voila. Ooh. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. So I feel like we can probably saturate this a bit. So let's add that saturation. Yeah, that's cool. Way too much. That's what I like. But let's use another EQ then. Okay, let's leave it at that for now. Mid rumble. Not bad. Nah. Ooh, less reverb is good. Shorter reverb, less reverb. Bad. I'm not against this. Okay. What do I think of that mid? It's not bad. Let's try a different amp. Ooh. That's such an odd sound. I quite like that. I like those little micro rhythms. Oops, I'm messing these up now. Uh-oh. I've never really figured out how to work with this. Hang on. All right, let's try that again. Okay. I'll have to figure out how to work with this one someday. It's new to Live 11, so anyway. Here we go. In the context. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Cool. Let's give it another color. Very different, huh? We didn't do anything on the master, so let's put on that limiter. The goal with the limiter is just to shave off like 1 or 2 decibels so that the whole thing's dynamic range is just compressed a tiny little bit. Overall, my philosophy on this is that in as many places as possible, if I can reduce the dynamic range of an element by like 1 or 2 decibels, it all sort of adds up to, at the end, needing to do less on your master to get a loud mix, okay? But I never really want to go too far. I never really want to affect the quality of the sound in a perceptual way. This is just for sort of making sure that I've got the gain of this sound under control at all times. Not bad. This one's a bit too loud. Okay, not bad. Now let's make another one. So let's go for rumble number 3. Rumble number 3, let's go. So for the kick, we're gonna again choose a different kick. We're gonna go to the sample pack, choose ourselves another one. Oh yes, a duck mass. Hot, love it. Yeah, that's good. Oof, now this is too blurry now. It takes away from the kick, right? Let's take away some of that reverb. I think it's a saturator. Doesn't work as well here. Yeah, that's all I want from a low rumble, to be honest. Do I always want it to be like 16 note delays? Because they've all been very much like that, right? Yeah, I guess I'll make it really wet. That's pretty cool. Sounds pretty decent. Okay, let's leave that where it is. Okay. Interesting. Mid-rumble, huh? I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of into it. Oh, that's good. I maybe was missing some high-end rumble. I'm not sure. This is probably my favorite so far. Yeah, just leave this in but turn it down. Yeah, Rumble 3 is by far my favorite so far. Yeah, not bad. This gives me some vibes, especially this one, this combo. Not bad, not bad. Now, one thing that I'm aware of is that this Rumble number 3 is relying quite heavily on the sub bass, like this area of the frequency spectrum right now, right? And while that sounds awesome on a big sound system, like right now I'm listening on my monitors and it sounds awesome, but there's a little bit of a risk there, and the risk it has to do with the fact that you want your techno track to sound massive on all sound systems, right? You want it to sound exactly the way it should be on all sound systems. And if you rely too much on those ultra sub frequencies, not all sound systems can reproduce those sub frequencies. So you need your song to also have the right character and attitude on small speakers. And how would you do that? Well, what you would do is you'd listen to only the mid frequencies. So listening to only the mid frequencies, you can, on your master channel, don't pay attention to this. This is just for recording this tutorial. You would create something like a small speaker simulator. And that small speaker simulator is just a way for you to listen to your track as if it was coming from a small speaker. And what is it? Basically, it's an EQ8, which has a high pass filter at 150 and a low pass filter at 8000. And all you got is the mid area there. And then you also maybe mono it. That's kind of optional. But everything that comes through that now is going to sound kind of neutered. Like it's going to sound like the beautiful warm frequencies around 50 hertz are not going to contribute to the beauty of the track. And that's going to give you a totally different perspective. So let's listen to that. See that? See here, for instance, the transient of the kick comes out way too much. Okay, well that gives us some info, right? So for instance, on the kick, I don't like how it's punching through quite so brightly. So all I would have to do is Not totally sure about this. Yeah, see that? See, not bad now. So now when I remove the small speaker simulator, this one sounds so much better. Oh my gosh. See, when I didn't do these two last things, oof, it's completely out of balance. Now suddenly it sounds like a track. Now I love it. This is awesome. Okay, cool. Let's do the same for rumble number 1 so that we at least have 3 rumbles that we're proud of, and then we can choose the one that's best. I don't want to just choose the first one that accidentally felt good, which was rumble number 3. I want to also fix rumble number 1 in the same way if I can. So what I'll do is select rumble number 1, then turn on the small speaker. Yeah. What's wrong here? This is way too loud. Not sure about this. The kick has... I like the dusty mids of the kick originally, and right now I'm somehow not really convinced, actually. So what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Maybe I need to just equalize it a little bit. Let's see what happens. Yeah, not bad. And then on the master, let's use some regular saturation. Something like this. This is also too loud. This is a tricky one. I guess I want this to be a bit more assertive as well, so let's do this. The thing I liked about it, I don't like so much anymore. Let's try this. Yeah, not bad. Turn up the rumble. Let's have a look at what their volumes are relative to each other. Why can I not see my faders? There we go. So yeah, the low rumble's peak is -14 and the kick is -3, so the low rumble can be brought up a significant amount. That's going to make it perceived loudness difference. It's pretty huge. Yeah, it does, right? Get everything out of the way of the kick. The kick is the main feature here, right? Remember that, always. Oh, look at this limiter going wild. See, this is why I like having the limiter on there, so I can see... So I can keep an eye on what the volume's doing. Yeah, that's okay. Not so bad, not so bad. Compared to the others. See, now we've got 3 rumbles that are interesting. Let me turn off the small speakers. Whoa. That sub bass will need to be brought under control. Yeah, let's go into that sub bass. Here, let's see what this sounds like when you just put an auto filter on the whole thing and listen to only the lows. Yeah, see, you can't hear the kick anymore. What you want in the low end is you want dum 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 dum. You want the kick to be the most impressive element. So like that, we need to recalibrate the low end like that. But what that really means is that I need to reduce the ultra low frequencies of the rumble, not turn the whole thing down. I liked how the mid frequencies of the low rumble sounded. So see, now I can hear the kick in the lows. See, if I didn't do that, yeah, the low end is way better now. Now, to be able to make decisions about this, I remember years and years of struggling with this, mainly because neither my headphones nor my near field monitors could actually give me this information. Right now, I've got myself a setup with a subwoofer and SonarWorks, and I feel like I can accurately say, whoa, this is way too much. So yeah, I can only make these kind of decisions because I can really hear what those sub frequencies are doing. What I used to make the mistake of doing is not be able to hear these frequencies. Then when I would bounce my track and play it in a DJ set, my low end would be amplified thanks to the subwoofers of the club sound system, and it would be a blurry mess. So indeed. So right now, I think everything becomes easier when you can actually hear what you're doing. So that makes a huge difference. Now,